Hello, this is meant to be a quick video series for setting up a air ambulance pre-planning template for collecting data and putting it on a map to help air ambulance pilots and crews capture information and then access that, mostly around landing zones, but you'll see a few other examples here. This is going to be done ad lib, so I'll do the best I can, but I just wanted to set up the problem here. The air ambulance pilots are trying to keep track of information about alternative landing zones. And you'll see here they've got a couple of, they've got a nice little spreadsheet template for collecting that information, but we'd like to make this all available on one map with other information that might be important to them, such as location of hospitals or weather radar or other information. So the tool we're going to use is Survey123 for ArcGIS. We are accessing this through our National Alliance for Public Safety GIS Foundation ArcGIS Online platform. And to get started, we simply go to our Survey123 app. And what I'd like to do is create a new survey. And more advanced users would be using the Survey123 Connect tool, which is great for creating templates and reusing forms in new organizations. But we want to get started quickly here and give our end user an idea of how these surveys are made so that they could potentially update these on their own. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, you'll see here I paused the video just to type in some information so that I know what this survey is all about. It's going to be called Air Ambulance Pre-Plans, and I'm just going to mark it Prototype. And we'll go ahead and launch our form. And what we're doing here is we're creating a new form interface that's going to create layers that we can see on a map. And the information that gets filled out in the survey will show up in the layers. So it's just going off here and publishing a few things. Okay, the web designer has published our empty template. And what you'll see here is just a really simple interface for building a form from scratch. Now, we're really concerned about the location of these pre-plans. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a location question. And I'm just going to call it map the location. And this will be accessible through a mobile app, but also on the web. So I might come back later and put some instructions in here. And since I know the general area they'll be operating in, let me go ahead and enter a town name here. Just to get as close to their operating area, so when they open the map, it'll default to that region. I'm going to click Save, just so my first question is in there, and it's just going to be a map question. They'll probably be working a lot in the field and used to looking at imagery with labels, so I'll make that my default base map. We can change that, and they can even change that later. The next thing we're going to do is add a question. And I want this to be a question that gives them some choices. And it's going to be a single choice. So we're going to just call this waypoint type, because they're used to using GPSs and waypoints should make sense to them. I can put some instructions in here, but the first question will be about landing zone. But they might also want to be able to put in notes about some other fields here. So I'm just going to pause a minute and go look up what some of those are. All right, we'll go with landing zones, hazards, assets. And because this is a new survey and we might have to refine it a few times, I'm going to allow for an other. And when they check on other, they'll get prompted to put in some more information. I can change the appearance of this, but I'm going to stick with vertical here. And I'm going to make this a required question because I really want to know what it is when they answer it, when they fill out the form. And go ahead and do the same with location because it's pretty useless without a location. All right, let's add a few more question types here. Let me come back and look at this template they've used before. And I've got some questions here specifically to landing zone stuff. Okay, so my buddy said related to landing zones, H stands for hazards. So this would be hazards specific to landing zones. So I'm going to call it LZ hazards. And I'm going to leave it so that they can Actually, let's make it a multi-line text in case there's a lot of information they want to add here. And this will just be a field for them to enter in any known hazards around that landing zone. Next, he said, are obstacles. So I'm going to put that in there as a multi-line. Terrain factors. Go ahead and pause this here and fill out a few more. You get the idea. Okay, great. I added some information here that's going to be specific to the landing zone question. So I don't want these to show up when they're filling out other waypoint types. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up a rule. And you can see here, I hover over that box and I can see set rule here. And this is going to allow me to only ask those questions related to landing zones when they're actually filling out a landing zone waypoint. This is really important for the usability of the form and making sure that they can get through it quickly, as they've got lots of other stuff to do. All right, so they'll only get prompted to answer those questions when they're actually filling out something related to landing zones. Now, I'd like to be able to just add something else here, just general comments, which I think is will be pertinent to any of the waypoint types. So I'll go ahead and leave that in here, and I'll put it at the bottom. And then finally, I think what we'd like to do is allow them to add some photos if it's pertinent. I'm going to go ahead and just allow for adding one image for now. We can increase that later if we really want to. So what I'm going to do is save this. And what I would be able to do next is preview this. Take a look at what it's going to look like on, a desktop. If they're at a PC filling this out, you can see here how that's going to work, or maybe what it'll look like on a phone. And we'll check out what the mobile app itself looks like a bit later. The other thing I might want to do is look at the appearance. They might be working a lot at night, so I might go ahead and just make the background dark. Can examine some other settings here. I'd like to make it so that they can just keep adding records. So there's lots of little things we can do here to make their lives easier. But why don't we go ahead and publish this? And when I say publish, what that means is we're going to make it available, and it'll be a link that they'll be able to access that. And I'll show you that in a moment. The next thing I'm going to do here is something that'll help our GIS and database staff. I'm just going to change the field names so that they speak a little more human language. All right, you can go ahead and see here I changed some of the names of these fields. Like I said later, that'll just help for people who are dealing with some of the raw data to make sense of it. So we might want to integrate this database with other systems later on. So go ahead and finally click Publish, and this is going to go out and create my form, my layers, and we'll be able to take some next steps here. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and we'll start another one to show you how to make a web map with these layers.